Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Above the Rim Rundown, where we run down all things NBA. I am one of your hosts, Memo, and right beside me is not Hoops. Hoops is not here today because he is unfortunately feeling sick. Hopefully, he feels better and will be back next week. But today, I will be in charge. I will be doing a solo dolo episode for you all, going over my biggest winners and losers of free agency so far. Free agency, like I'm including some past trades as well. But yeah, we're gonna be going over some teams that I think did an amazing job so far this offseason. Some teams that I don't think are doing the best of jobs at the moment. It should be a fun episode, so make sure that you like the video, you are subscribed to the YouTube, comment down below. That will help us out. Check out our socials. If you're on audio platforms, leave us a 5-star rating and review. But yeah, I'm excited to do this. There's a few things that, not a few things actually, just one thing that I want to do before we get started. And I planned to do this a while ago, but I was just waiting for something to come in. But I don't know if you guys remembered, I got this little, I think it's called cork board, where we're gonna put all the NBA champions that have won during our time as a podcast onto this cork board. Last year was the Celtics, so it sucks that I had to get a Celtics pin. But this year, the Oklahoma City Thunder won the NBA championship, so I finally got a OKC pin. Let's see if you can see that. It's not totally focused, but I think you can kind of see it. And we're going to finally put it right here next to the Celtics. Bada bing, bada boom. Oh, let's put it a little higher, actually. There we go. So now we have two champs over here. It looks off. It needs to be higher. Is it too high now? I think it's about right. So, although it looks kind of late at the moment, since this is just the second year of the podcast, so this is only the second championship. By the time we're old and stuff, it's gonna be filled up and it's gonna look nice. And I've been working quite hard as of late, trying to remodel my room. So I believe by next week that drawer should be over here, like right beside me, and I'm gonna replace that with a bookshelf. So this thing should be back there with the bookshelf, with all my other little knickknacks, Legos, stuff like that. It should look nice. That's what I've been doing this week. I've been remodeling my room. I hung on my TV. I got rid of a giant cabinet that I don't really use. And I've been watching soccer a little bit of soccer. Well, shout out Guatemala for getting as far as they did. They lost to USA last week, so that sucks. But USA just lost to Mexico yesterday, and Mexico won the CONCACAF, I think, the Gold Cup. So congrats to them. Especially with what's been going on in this country, Mexico. And all the Latin countries needed a win, so shout out to Mexico for getting that win. And yeah, disappointing game from De Luna. He's the one that torched us in the Guatemala game, but was an over, I guess, against Mexico. So we'll see if he ends up playing in the FIFA in the World Cup, because there was rumors, or not, a lot of people were talking about how he should be in it because of how great he was in the Gold Cup. Disappointing way to end the World Cup, or not World Cup, Gold Cup, but still he was pretty good throughout. But yeah, this is not a soccer podcast, even though I definitely wouldn't be qualified for that. This is a basketball podcast, so let's talk about some teams that have made some major moves this offseason. And I'm going to do what we usually do. like during the during the regular season, we go over the W list and then the L list. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna I'm gonna go over the W list. So these are the teams that I think made some great moves this offseason. And we're gonna of course start off with the Rockets making the biggest move this offseason, trading for Kevin Durant. Originally during the NBA Finals Game 7, or right before the NBA Finals, a lot of things happened. So actually the Kevin Durant trade ended up being a 7-team trade where a lot of other teams got involved, and a bunch of picks and randoms got traded. It's actually not as cool as it might sound, a 7-team trade. But yeah, let's go over what the Rockets did. They re-signed Steven Adams, 3-year extension. He was great during the playoffs. His offensive rebounding was essential. They also re-signed Aaron Holiday, Jeff Green, who's always like a great locker room guy, Jabari Smith Jr., very young, talented, great defensive player, has some room to grow offensively, but there's flashes of him being a great player in this league for sure. He's already a pretty good player, so that's a good re-signing. Jayshawn Tate and Fred VanVleet, who has helped this organization the last, I believe, 2 years he was here, just helped these young guys grow up a little bit and had some big moments during the playoffs, even though they did lose. So those are some of their re-signings. Some of their additions: Clint Capella, 3-year deal. Kevin Durant coming over from a 7-team trade. Dorian Finney-Smith coming from the Lakers, agreeing to a 4-year deal. And then who they ended up losing: Dylan Brooks, who was part of the Kevin Durant trade; Jalen Green, who was also part of the Kevin Durant trade; Jock Landale got waived; and just recently, Cam Whitmore got traded to the Wizards, and the Rockets ended up getting Mojave King from the number 47 overall pick this year, and 2 second-round picks for 2026-2029. That move, I'm not entirely sure why they did that. They traded Cam Whitmore in, I believe, a 3-team trade. The Heat got Cam Whitmore, who I believe is a decent, like, two-way player, I guess. I'm still curious on why they traded him. It happened so recently. I haven't had a lot of thoughts about that. He would have definitely helped out the depth of this team. I don't know if this is like, a money move, I guess. Like, are they supposed to pay him soon and they don't want to pay him? That might be it, but I'm going to stick with the W's here, which, of course, Kevin Durant being the biggest W. He's old, but he is still one of the greatest scorers in the game today. He could get a bucket from anywhere. And we know that the Houston Rockets, as great as they were last season, they were the 2nd seed in the West. They had amazing defense. Their offense was lacking. That's why they ended up losing to the Warriors last playoffs, because sometimes they couldn't get a bucket. It would be just Alper Sengun trying his best to score on Draymond Green, and that was a hit or miss at times. Fred VanVleet would get hot at times, but get cold as well. They really didn't have anybody that could get their own bucket and score efficiently and score at a high rate. That's what Kevin Durant does for you. So bringing him in was a smart move, in my opinion. And what else is a smart move is getting Dorian Finney-Smith. I'm pissed about this one as a Lakers fan. He is a great two-way player, great defensively, can shoot some threes, which will fit nicely with the Rockets. I think he's such a perfect player for the Rockets. He'll continue helping the defense on for the Rockets, and then will be open for a 3 if needed. And then Clint Capella, some good injury assurance, I think. Well, he gets injured as well, but Steven Adams gets injured. Clint Capella gets injured. So they could be like injury insurance for each other. But I think this is good depth for the Rockets. We saw how successful their two big lineup was in the playoffs with Steven Adams and Alperen Sengun playing at the same time. Having Clint there will help relieve some minutes for Steven Adams, who can't really play for that long, especially if they pull a hack of Steve like they did in the playoffs. You could throw in Clint Capella for him, and he's a good rebounder, just like Steven Adams. He's not as good as he was when he was originally a Rocket, but he'll help out the team quite a bit. So I think that was a good idea to sign him because of depth reasons alone, right? There could be times where they start Steven Adams and Alperen Sengun. Maybe they'll only start Alperen Sengun. Maybe they'll start Alperen Sengun and Clint Capella. There's a lot of things that Ime Udoka can pull off to work out and try things out during the regular season that could lead to some playoff success when it's time for that. So those moves are great, but what I really like is how they got rid of Jalen Green, who, yeah, he's a young guy. Maybe there's still some like room to grow for him, but I don't know. He's just a shot chucker who could be very inefficient and very inconsistent. I just don't think he's that good, to be honest. I don't know why the Suns would trade for him. I know they were just trying to get rid of Kevin Durant, but adding Jalen Green sucks. And originally, I thought it sucked for the Rockets that they had to get rid of Dillon Brooks, because I like Dillon Brooks probably more than most people. I think he's a good two-way player. I do like how he's such a villain, but seeing that the Rockets replaced him with Dorian Finney-Smith, who I think is even better than Brooks, I think it all ended up working for the Rockets. So they got the best player with Kevin Durant. They were able to trade the worst player with Jalen Green. And they were able to add some depth to the lineup. So the Rockets are definitely getting a W. They are a winner in this year's off season so far. Unless something else happens, something else that confuses me, like they keep getting rid of young guys like Cam Whitmore, which again I'm still confused about that, but it's got to be a money thing, I'm assuming. Maybe he's due to a new contract that I don't really know of. I don't know. I'm not good with that kind of stuff. It's hard for me to remember that. Hoops is better than me on that front. But yeah, W for the Rockets. Let's move on to the Nuggets, who have made some great moves. I really like what they did here. So they signed Bruce Brown. They traded away Michael Porter Jr., their most inconsistent, unreliable playoff performer, with Cam Johnson, who's been to the finals before. He's helped out and who plays very similarly to Michael Porter Jr., but I think Cam Johnson is a bit more consistent. They added Tim Hardaway Jr. to a 1-year deal, and they also traded for Jonas Valanciunas. They only got rid of Dario Saric for that. There was some complications with that one because the word on the street was that Jonas wanted to leave the NBA to play for Greece. That would have hurt the Nuggets a lot if that ended up happening, because for the first time in basically Nikola Jokic's career, they finally got a decent backup big, and the fact that he wanted to go to Greece immediately is kind of a bad sign. But I heard that he will be staying, that the Nuggets are kind of forcing him to stay, which good. Like, it would suck if you trade a player just for the player you traded for leaves. That would be horrible. But yeah, I think Jonas Valanciunas is a great pickup. He is a good scorer as a big man, has some good post moves, has a midi game, The goal for him is to not lose the non-Jokic minutes. If they're able to play with Jonas Valanciunas for like 12 minutes a game, I'm not even asking for a lot. I'm sure the Nuggets aren't asking for a lot, but to play a little bit and just not lose those minutes will be a W. And, he's a good rebounder as well. I want to say he's a crazy defender, but he will be a good bench piece. I think Bruce Brown and Tim Hardaway Jr. are going to be great bench pieces as well. I think they could be a spark plug. Tim Hardaway Jr., is not the most consistent. Like when he went to the finals a couple years ago for Dallas, he had some stinkers. He also had like a 15-point fourth quarter, which was crazy. So he could shoot some threes. He could get them a bucket at times, but they shouldn't solely rely on him, and I don't think they will be. He will definitely be on the bench and play a few minutes. So if he's hitting those threes, that'll be great. If he's not, bench him, throw in somebody else. But yeah, so he's a good addition. Bruce Brown, I like this move. Bruce Brown, because the best season in Bruce Brown's career was when he was playing with Nikola Jokic and won a chip with him. He hasn't really done anything since leaving the Nuggets, but now that he's back, I think he might not play as well as he did during the championship year, but I'm sure he'll be a bit more rejuvenated after playing for the Pacers, the Raptors, the Pelicans in the last 2 seasons or so. Sorry, I'm I'm feeling stiff right now. Not like that. Oh, why did I say it like that? Okay, my bad. So yeah, a great piece. And then again, Kim Johnson. I already said it. I think he's, although the stats are very similar, I think he's a better version of Michael Porter Jr., who has been a disappointment in the playoffs for several years. This year, he kind of has an excuse. He was injured, but still, what about the other years, It seems like he only cooks when he's playing the Lakers, which is weird. But yeah, I think Kim Johnson's a great player. He played amazing for Brooklyn. He was an essential piece to the Phoenix Suns roster when they went to the finals. W's all around. This was one of the best Nuggets off seasons in a bit. So shout out to the Nuggets. They definitely deserve a W. Next, I'm going to give it to the Hawks. The Hawks made some great moves. They got Gilgeous-Alexander Walker. I don't know if you guys knew this, but he's the cousin of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, as they kept saying during the Western Conference Finals. But yeah, Gilgeous-Alexander Walker signed a 4-year deal via sign-and trade. They also got Luke Kennard, Kristaps Porzingis through a 3-team trade. They did lose quite a bit of players: Clint Capella, Harris LeVert, Larry Nance Jr., Georges Niang, Terrence Mann. Some of these guys were kind of important, but some of these were non-essential players. Bottom line, they improved in many ways. They got some 3-point shooting with Luke Kennard. They got some great wing defense with Gilgeous-Alexander Walker. And then they have a great 3-and-D big man with Kristaps Porzingis. Pingus. If healthy, will be such an essential piece for this team, dude. Even though I heard he might be going to the bench, which I kind of think is a little crazy. Hopefully he takes that well. I remember when he went to the Mavs, he didn't like the idea of being the second guy, so the Mavs ended up kind of sucking because he didn't really want to play for the Mavs. So if he becomes a drama queen once again, this could go poorly. If he goes to the bench, we'll see. He's mature by now, though. He's won a chip. I'm sure that he'll try to play his best. We'll see, I guess. But if he's healthy, though, this Hawks team could cause some damage, dude. And yeah, I like the moves they made. They have a lot of defenders now to surround Trae Young, which is exactly what you need to do with your star guard that can't defend to save his life. Just surrounded by defenders like Dyson Daniels, who, the barrier thief, led the league in thieves by a large margin, was really close to winning DPOY. They got him, they got Jalen Johnson, they got Nikhil Alexander Walker, they got Kristaps Porzingis blocking shots. The Hawks roster is looking really good. Really good. So, shout out to them. I'm very impressed with the moves they made. Let's move on to the Clippers. So I added the Clippers a couple days ago to the list. I'm going to still keep them here, even though a trade just happened this morning. I still don't really know how I feel. It's growing on me, though. It's growing on me. So, let's go over what they did. They re-signed Nicholas Batum. Okay. A great role player for the Clippers. He's just a solid guy in general. I don't know why that one rapper was dissing Batum. Why Batum is in the fourth quarter. Batum is a great player, even at his old age. Good defender. So shout out to Batum. They also re-signed James Harden, which they kind of had to because he was good for the Clippers. Not very efficient, but he is a good ball handler, distributor, and helped the Clippers a lot. Getting a bunch of wins when Kawhi was injured. He was an all-star as well, so they had to do that. They added Brook Lopez, a good bench piece, I believe. He is on the older side. He's going to be very slow, but he can help defensively, shoot some threes at times. Will probably help out Zubac a lot when he's on the bench. Drew Eubanks is leaving. And what happened this morning? Let me grab my phone because I believe I have the trade on my phone. Yeah, there we go. A 3-team trade happened where the Heat will be receiving Norman Powell. So near all-star Norman Powell averaged like 20 points per game last year. Was injured quite a bit though. He's going to the Heat. The Clippers will be receiving John Collins, a decent player from the Jazz. I think averaged like 18 and 10. And then the Jazz will be getting Kevin Love, Kyle Anderson, and a second-round pick from the Clippers. So this just happened. At first, I didn't like it because, I was big on Norman Powell last year. I was hoping he was going to be an all-star. I remember ranting about how I think it was LeBron not playing during the All-Star game. If someone wasn't playing, I think James Harden as well. Or, I don't know. And the fact... LeBron last minute said he couldn't play because he had some kind of, injury. Very last minute. And I got mad about that because I thought he should have said something earlier so that someone like Norman Powell can have a chance at being an All-Star. It's whatever, but maybe he'll be an all-star now since he's going to the East, and the East is very weak. I guess this is a good move for the Heat. They just got rid of Kevin Love, who is aging. I forgot who else they just got rid of already. Was Kyle Anderson a Heat player? I think he was. Yeah, they got rid of Kyle Anderson. Who's Kyle Anderson? They got a 20-point per game score. That's great for the Heat. They're kind of mini winners. They, I think, re-signed David Mitchell. They made some decent moves. I'll look into what else they've done. But the John Collins addition to the Clippers, it's growing on me. I'm not really a big guy or big fan of John Collins, but I think the fit is nice. Instead of having Kawhi or Norman Powell be power forward, they're actually getting a real power forward to play that position. He just scores a little bit less per game than Norman Powell. I think he's pretty healthy for the most part as well. So it's growing on me. having him beside Zubats, they won't be able. They won't clog the paint. They can both shoot quite well. John Collins more so than Zubats. He can make a three here and there. So this is definitely growing on me. The more I think about it, and yeah, the Clippers are getting some depth. They are making what's the word? A lineup that makes more sense, I guess. I feel like last year, even though I liked Norman Powell on the team, there was just a lot of scores and one ball to go around, And if Norman Powell is not scoring, what else is he really doing, John Collins could help out in other ways. He could block a shot here and there. He could rebound a lot better than Norman Powell. And rebounding and having more bigs out there is going to be very important when you face a team like the Nuggets, for example. So, overall, I think this is a W. I think this is a good move. Or the Clippers made some good moves this offseason. So, unfortunately, W for the Clippers. Next, let's go over the Knicks. They didn't make a lot of moves, but they added some key depth pieces. Jordan Clarkson has agreed to a 1-year deal. I think it's for the minimum, so that's good. And Gershon Gabusele has joined the roster, agreed to a 2-year deal. I like that as well. He's going to be a great bench piece. If you don't remember, Gabusele is the French player that did great against Team USA during the championship game. Got silver because USA won, of course. The Knicks struggled a lot, like when it comes to bench play. They really didn't take advantage of their bench as all, but at the same time, their bench just sucked as well. So the fact that they're adding some more bench depth, adding some great scores like Jordan Clarkson and Yabusele, it's a good move. And knowing that Mike Brown is coming in now, who he's a pretty good offensive coach. That's how the Kings were so great a couple of years ago, because he was a great offensive coach. I think this is going to help the Knicks a lot offensively. When Jalen Brunson needs a break, when Mikal Bridges needs a break, having these guys come off the bench, score a few points, and then go back to the bench is going to be pretty important. So, overall, I do like this move from the Knicks. I think they did a good job here. Let's see if they could take advantage of this weaker East. And, okay. Let's move on to the Mavericks, who re-signed Dante Exum, Kyrie Irving to a 3-year deal, and added D'Angelo Russell to the lineup, and drafted Cooper Flag. I'm throwing that in as well as a W because it's Cooper Flag. He is projected to be similar to a Kawhi Leonard, a two-way force who could get their own bucket and defend the best player on the other team. Maybe not immediately, but eventually he'll be like that. We'll see how quickly he can come to form and be an essential player for the Mavs. I'm sure it'll be quick. Maybe a little rusty at first, but I'm sure Cooper Flag will show flashes of greatness early. So, obviously, that's a good pickup, getting the most hyped up rookie in this upcoming draft. That helps a lot. Adding D'Angelo Russell to the team and keeping Dante Exum is very important because we know Kyrie Irving will be out basically the entire season due to a torn Achilles, right? That was the injury, right? Something like that. He's going to be out for a good chunk of time. Actually, I don't think he got injured as late. I think he'll be back after December, something like that. But yeah, D'Angelo Russell and Dante Exum would be good guard depth, which is going to be very important since Kyrie's going to be out. And D'Angelo Russell has had a bad rep as of late, but he is a good player. He averaged like 18 points last year. He isn't the most consistent guy, but he'll get you some buckets. He'll drain a good amount of threes. He'll get the big guys going. He played very well with Anthony Davis when they were both on the Lakers. So the fact that they're both back together but on the Mavs is great for the Mavs. I think he will help a lot, especially when Kyrie is out. I don't know how the fit will work when he's back. Will he start as shooting guard? Will he be on the bench? We'll see. We'll see. But I think this is a good move by the Mavericks picking up D'Angelo Russell. He's going to be great for the Mavs and will definitely help them out during the times that Kyrie is out. And then also Dante Exum will help out just depth-wise in case anything else happens. So I do like these moves from the Mavericks. The last team I'm going to talk about as a winner is the Magic for trading for Desmond Bane. They also signed Tyus Jones to a one-year deal. They had to give up Cole Anthony, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Gary Harris also left. I went to the Bucks. But I'm still going to give this a W, because what the Magic struggled the most was the shooting. They can't, other than Paulo and Franz, there's zero offense from this team. So the fact that they got Desmond Bane is a huge W. He is like a 20-point per game scorer. Very efficient from three. Very efficient. And this is one of the worst 3-point shooting teams in the league. So adding Desmond Bane is very essential for the Magic if they want to take advantage of this weaker East and go far in this year's playoffs. So for that alone, I think this is a W. Tyus Jones is also a great backup point guard. Jalen Suggs gets injured quite a bit. So if he's out again, Tyus Jones will be able to fill in that role pretty nicely. But yeah, if everybody's healthy, I could see this team being really, really good this year. So yeah, that's my final team for the W list. Those are all my winners. Let's talk about some losers. And let's talk about the Lakers, unfortunately. I don't think they're like the biggest losers. I think the moves they made were decent. And I guess it's a little clickbaity why I added them to the losers because, biggest team in the league, putting them on a thumbnail, calling them losers. It'll help with the clicks, but overall, I do think they are a loser, even if I don't think the moves they made is horrid. But let's start with the additions. They added DeAndre Ayton to a 2-year deal. I thought it was at first when the news broke, I thought it was like a 1-year, $32 million deal. So I was like freaking out. But no, he signed for 2 years. I think he has a player option for the second year. So will be a contract year for him. And it's for cheap. I think it's $8 million per year. So that's good. That's good. They have Jake LaRavia now as well. That he agreed to a 2-year deal. Apparently he's like best friends with Austin Reeves. So that's cool. That's cool. It'll help some chemistry wise. But I don't really know much about him. Let's look him up. Jake LaRavia. Okay, 7 points per game, 4 rebounds, 2.4 assists, 47.5 from the field. Okay. Throw him on the bench, I guess. I guess we need a forward that we had to lose Dorian Finney-Smith. That one hurts. That one hurts. I already said it, but losing Dorian Finney-Smith sucks. Like, I wish they were able to pay him. I don't think they had the money, even though we have a rich owner now. We did not have the money to keep him for an extended period of time. So that hurts us defensively. I don't know how great Jake LaRavia is defensively, I can't tell you. So I don't know, but I'm sure he's not as good as Dorian Finney-Smith. And then adding DeAndre Ayton, this team is gonna suck defensively. I'm telling you this now. Our lineup: Luka Doncic, Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura, LeBron James, DeAndre Ayton. That sucks. Defensively, that sucks. Our best defender is LeBron James, and half the time he doesn't want to play defense. He just straight up does not. Even in the playoffs, he just like chooses not to play defense. It's crazy. I know he's old, but come on, come on. I believe LeBron also picked up his player option. He's like getting paid like a lot this year, not taking a pay cut. That sucks as well. There's writing on the wall that he might leave. He might ask for a trade. That sucks. So, yeah. Although on paper it's not too bad. We finally got our center. We finally have a center, which is what we needed the most. And we got a good center. DeAndre Ayton is a good center. He's like 15 and 10. Add a block in there as well. He's a good center. It's not the center we needed, but there was really no other center we could get unless we traded for someone. But, trades are always tricky. But, yeah, what we needed was a good defensive center who is also a lob threat, so that Luka can just pass him, give him some lobs, get some efficient points. That's what we needed, and we got DeAndre Ayton, who is not really the best defender, could block a shot, but not the best defender. He likes to play in the mid-range, doesn't really go for lobs that much. The way he plays too, he's a bum, dude. I'll say he's a bum. He's one of the most lazy, least hardworking players in the league. He once missed the game because the roads were too icy. He once blamed his poor performances on the court because he didn't have a bed. What kind of millionaire does not have a bed? I'm not a fan of DeAndre Ayton. And now he's going to be an important piece to the Lakers. This season is going to suck. It's going to suck. I know the Lakers were at the 3rd seed last year with no center. But we lost Dorian Finney-Smith, who was a big piece for us last year. And we're adding a center. It's a contract year, so maybe he'll try, but a lot of the times he does not try. So, yeah, this sucks. This sucks a lot. The defense will be horrible this year. And LeBron might ask a trade because he's a ring hopper. So, yeah, the Lakers are losers in my opinion. Although, what else could they have done? I don't know. They probably couldn't do anything else, honestly. This is probably the best they could have done. So, shout out to the Lakers, I guess, for trying, but this sucks. This just sucks. Similar situation for the next team, the Bucks. I think they did their best as well. I think they tried their best, but I still think they're losers. So, what they ended up doing, they re-signed a creep, Kevin Porter Jr., to a 2-year deal. Bobby Portis, who is a franchise favorite, so, it's cool. Torian Prince, Jericho Sims, and Gary Trent Jr. They added, what's his name? Vasily Misic? I hope I said that right. Miles Turner, their biggest acquisition for sure. Miles Turner, they got him for like $25 a year, something like that. So that's not too bad. And Gary Harris, as I mentioned, from the Magic. Sorry. And, they got rid of Pat Connaughton. Pat Connaughton, which isn't a big deal. Brooke Lopez, who, they replaced them with Miles Turner, so that's a W, even though Sucks because they won a championship with Brook Lopez, but they had to do what they had to do. And again, they had to do what they had to do, and they waived Damian Lillard, which is kind of messed up. Even though at the end of the day, Damian Lillard is winning. I'm sure he's happy getting paid for these next, 4 years, 5 years. They stretched out his contract in order to sign Miles Turner. And now Damian Lillard can join any team he wants, recover from his injury, and try to win a ring when he's back healthy. A lot of people said that him going to the Celtics would be a good idea, and although I would hate that, it would be a smart idea for the Celtics to sign him to like a 2-year deal, have him recover the same time as Jason Tatum, and when they're both healthy, on paper, the Celtics has a good starting point guard that can shoot some threes. I'm really not expecting Damian Lillard to be all-star level Damian Lillard anymore after this injury, but he probably could still be a good player. So I'm throwing them as a loser because at the end of the day, making all these moves, waiving Damian Lillard, getting Miles Turner, is any of these moves gonna help Giannis want to stay with the Bucks, which is basically the goal? I don't think so. Like, what else could they have done? I don't know. They essentially did make the team slightly better. Adding Miles Turner is huge. They're rivals with the Pacers as well. So getting rid of one of their favorite players, or taking one of their favorite players, Miles Turner, adding them to the Bucks roster, it's a cool move. Not gonna lie. But when you think of the bigger picture, right, and look at the roster, they're probably gonna start Kevin Porter Jr. Ew. Who would be their shooting guard? Would it be Gary Trent Jr., I believe? Gary Trent Jr. Kyle Kuzma will be their third most important player. Then they got Giannis and Miles Turner. That's a rough roster. I could see them being a 6th seed. But I could also see Giannis ask for a trade. I don't think any of these moves is vital. I don't think any of these moves pushes the needle for Giannis and makes him want to stay. I'm sure he wants to at the end of the day, but he mostly wants a chip. He wants to win. And this roster is not going to win anything. They're not even going to win the in-season tournament like they did this past season. They're not winning anything with this roster. So, although they made some upgrades, they did upgrade at the end of the day. And stretching out that Dame contract was the smart move, because why are you going to pay an injured player to not play, It's still ugly at the end of the day. Looking at the final roster, it's not good. It's not good at all. So, yeah, they're losers in my opinion. The next two are losers as well, but for many reasons, not the biggest reasons. The Warriors are losers, mostly for losing one of their longest tenured players. Is that how you say it? One of the longest Warriors who stayed with the franchise, Kevon Looney, to the Pelicans. Kevon Looney was there for a long time. How long has he been a Warrior? I can't find it. But yeah, I believe Kevon Looney won 3 chips with the Warriors. He is obviously a fan favorite. He was there for 10 seasons. Kevon Looney. And they unfortunately let him go to the Pelicans. So that's basically it. That's basically the reason why I find them as a loser. Just losing one of your longest tenured players to the Pelicans of all teams. The Pelicans have made some weird moves. They could be a mini loser as well, honestly. But yeah, that's basically the reason why I threw them as a loser. That and the fact that they haven't really done anything this off season. They haven't re-signed anybody. They haven't signed anybody at all. All they've done is just lose Kevon Looney. That's it. And with this current roster, I don't think they're winning anything anytime soon. You know, I'm not big on Jimmy Butler. As we saw in the playoffs, he couldn't carry this team to a win against Minnesota. They needed Steph. They needed some offensive power, and Jimmy couldn't really do that. They need some offense is basically what they need at the end of the day. And losing Kevon Looney doesn't really hurt them at that front. But still, the fact that they haven't really done anything is a big reason why they are losers. So, the Warriors are losers. The Pacers are losers for basically the same reason, for losing their starting center, Miles Turner. He's been there his whole career for 10 years as well, I believe. That sucks. They did just sign Jay Huff. I think that's his name. Yeah, Jay Huff. Or it was a trade, actually. I don't really know much about Jay Huff, so I don't know what to say about him. So at least they did something, because when I originally added them to the doc, they didn't do anything. So at least they've done something now. But losing Miles Turner after going to the finals with him this season sucks. That gotta suck. And I'm sure they could have paid him as well. They definitely could have, but they didn't want to. Which makes sense, because like with Tyrese out this season, they're not gonna be winning basketball. So signing Miles Turner to a contract just to lose all their games next season. I understand these moves that are being made, but I'm still going to call it an L, just because they lost a fan favorite with Miles Turner. So, maybe not the biggest losers out there, but losers nonetheless. And yeah, I guess I have one more team. I'll look through the article that I've been referencing to go over maybe some mini winners and losers. But let's go over the Suns as our final main loser, what they did, they re-signed Colin Gillespie. Sorry. They added Dylan Brooks, Jalen Green, Nigel Hayes-Davis, Mark Williams, and they ended up losing Kevin Durant, Tyus Jones, Cody Martin, Vasily Micic, and Mason Plumlee. They obviously had to get rid of Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant didn't want to be there. Suns didn't want Kevin Durant to be there. So, in a way, it's a win by getting rid of him. Like, it's a... What's the phrase? Like a plus after a minus, something like that? I don't know. The players that got... I know they didn't really have the upper hand in this trade. They just did what they could do. And adding Dylan Brooks it'll be nice. You know, some defense from the perimeter. But Jalen Green, that's the best you could do. Jalen Green? You have a team with Jalen Green, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker. There's only one ball, guys. How are these guys gonna share the ball if there's only one? All these guys are shot chuckers. Devin Booker being the best at that, most efficient, should have the ball in his hands the most. But they're probably going to start Jalen Green as the point guard, maybe? Which is not going to be a pretty sight. I'm sure they would rather have Devin Booker be the point guard, but he's better as a shooting guard. This team needs a point guard, like a true through-and-through point guard, and that's not what they got. They also need picks, and I don't think they got a lot of picks. I don't know. Or any picks, I don't know. They needed a big man. They got Mark Williams, who's injury prone but decent big. They've been getting all of the Charlotte bigs, which is weird. As if it worked for for the Hornets. Yeah, just the roster construction it's looking like a mess over there in Phoenix. So to me, they are losers because of that. But yeah, that's our last major loser. I'm gonna go through this article, going over every trades and acquisition made this offseason. And I'll shout out any other teams that might deserve a quick W or a quick L, because there are a few. So we start with the Hawks. The Celtics, I was thinking about them in the L list. Maybe they get a mini L list because they will now be losing a lot of games. But like Jason Tatum is going to be out the whole season. They were going to lose a bunch of games anyways. And they made a lot of moves in order to be under second apron, first apron, all that. I don't really remember what it's all called, but they made some moves so that they don't lose a lot of money and other stuff. So it's kind of W, but also an L because they're going to suck this year. But it's a strategic L, I guess. The Nets maybe could be an L. Like, they lost some good players like Cam Johnson, D'Angelo Russell. They added Terrence Mann, who I'm not big on. Michael Porter Jr., I'm not big on either. I don't think they got a lot of picks. They used all 5 of their first round picks, and they got like a bunch of Israelis, and Michael Porter Jr. on a team. That's crazy. That's a crazy move. So they could be kind of a mini L. Chicago, maybe they should be on the L list as well. They lost Lonzo Ball. They traded him for Isaac Okoro. Not many thoughts on him, but the fact that they couldn't get a pick after trading Lonzo is kind of crazy. They re-signed Trey Jones, so that's cool. So mini loser, I guess. Cleveland, I don't know. They lost Ty Jerome, which sucks. I don't think they were able to pay him though. So Ty Jerome ended up going to the Grizzlies. They added Alonzo. You're gonna need a good defensive guard if you're gonna keep Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland. So that's a cool move if he's healthy. And Larry Nance Jr., former Cav, is going back with the Cavs. So some depth there. So maybe mini winners. I was thinking Pistons, maybe a loser. They lost Tim Hardaway Jr. and Dennis Schroeder. Dennis Schroeder was big for them during the playoffs. So losing him sucks. They got Karis LeVert instead, who's not as good of a playmaker, but maybe it's just as good of a scorer. Duncan Robinson will be huge, for the 3-point shooting, especially if they have to get rid of like Malik Beasley, who's in a lot of trouble as late due to like gambling related stuff. So because of that situation, I thought of them being a loser, but adding Karis LeVert and Duncan Robinson is actually pretty good. So I don't know, maybe they're in between. Mini winners, I don't know. Let's see. Memphis Grizzlies, they added some good players. Cole Anthony, I think he's going to be waived soon. I don't really remember. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope had a really poor season with the Magic. I don't know if he'll be able to bounce back. Ty Jerome is going to be great for the Memphis Grizzlies. That's a great move. Jack Landale, some depth there. So they made some great moves, actually, now thinking about it. Got rid of Desmond Bane's contract. That's good. So that they can pay Jaren Jackson Jr. a 5-year extension for lots of money just for him to get a toe injury and be out to start the season. So that sucks. That sucks a lot. I'm not huge on Jaren Jackson Jr. either, so the fact that they paid him a lot of money is kind of crazy, but that's what you gotta do with your all-star young players. You gotta pay them, so yeah, it makes sense. They also re-signed Santi Aldama and Cam Spencer. I think this team made some W moves. The Heat made some W moves. You know, they added Simone Fontecchio. I'm sorry, I butchered that a lot. Davion Mitchell, who was pretty good last year. Did they already have him on the team? Why? Yeah, he was a Heat. So I don't know why he was in the re-sign portion when he's under additions. I don't know. But he was returning for a 2-year deal. He was pretty good for the Heat last year, especially during their short playoff run. And then Norman Powell, 20 points per game right there. That's going to help. All they had to get rid of was Kyle Anderson, Kevin Love, who is old, and Duncan Robinson, who is being replaced by a better player, Norman Powell. So, you know what? He made some W moves. Hopefully, they can trade Andrew Wiggins to the Lakers. I would love that a lot. And they can have Rui Hachimura and Gabe Vincent or whoever they want. Vando, they can have Vando as well. I don't know. Okay, Timberwolves. Did they get a mini L for losing Gilgeous-Alexander Walker? Maybe. But they also signed Julius Randle for a good deal. Nas Reed for a good deal. So, that's cool. They also have Joe Ingles on the roster still. So, that's cool. New Orleans, maybe an L. Maybe an L. They're making some weird moves. Like, why did they trade for Jordan Poole? I don't know. Why did they add Kevon Looney, a big man that can't shoot, next to Zion Williamson, a big man that can't shoot? I don't know. They added Sadiq Bey? Okay. Many losers for the Pelicans. Many losers. OKC signed some key players like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Re-signed some key players with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Jalen Williams, the tall one, the giggly Duke Dennis, AJ Mitchell. So some good moves there. Do we want to talk about 76ers? Probably not. Probably not. Not a lot of thoughts there. Honestly. Portland's been making some interesting moves. They got rid of Anthony Simons, who's okay, I guess. They don't really need him. They don't have DeAndre Ayton. They added Drew Holiday, though. Why? He doesn't even want to be there. I don't know. That move's confusing for me. They also re-signed Garrett Temple. Okay. Many losers just cause. Many losers. Sacramento, maybe many losers as well. They got Darius Saric, Dennis Schroeder. I don't know how well he'll fit with Sacramento. They needed a point guard. Is he going to be their starting point guard? I don't know. You know what would be crazy, though? If they had maybe like a De'Aaron Fox, maybe a Tyrese Halliburton. That would help out the Kings. If only they had that chance. Instead, they got Dennis Schroeder. 3-year deal. Spurs. They added Luke Cornett. Big man from the Celtics. Could shoot some threes. Have him beside Wemby. That'd be cool. They unfortunately had to depart ways with Mamu. It is what it is. The Raptors re-signed Jack Portal for like a crazy big contract that's ridiculous. They also have Mamu now for 2 years. There might be many losers for overpaying their guys, though. Like, I know Brandon Ingram has a big contract now. Portal, it's looking weird over there. Utah Jazz added Kyle Anderson, Kevin Love, Yusuf Nurkic, a bunch of guys that don't really do anything. They're going to suck this season. I think that's kind of the point. No offense to Kevin Love, though. I love Kevin Love, but, you know, he's not prime Kevin Love anymore. And then last team, Wizards, I don't know what they're doing either. They're just adding a lot of old people. And Cat Whitmore. They have CJ McCollum now, Dylan Jones, Kelly Olynyk, Cam Whitmore. They got rid of Sadiq Bey, Anthony Gill, Jordan Poole. I just don't know what they're doing over there. They have Marcus Smart, Chris Middleton, now CJ McCollum, Kelly Olynyk. Are the young guys gonna still have some play time? Will Alex Sarr be able to step it up and get some good minutes next year? I don't know. This is all confusing. So, many losers. Okay. We basically went through the entire NBA just now. But yeah, those were my winners and losers of this offseason. You guys let me know who was the biggest winners of this offseason. Was it the Nuggets? Was it the Rockets? I don't know. It's probably the Rockets. Sorry about that. And then, yeah, let me know who was the biggest losers. Was it the Lakers? I want to say it because I feel like the Lakers are big losers right now. But I think that's my bias. Coming through. But yeah, I'm going to end it here. Nice, quick, efficient show here. Yeah. Hopefully Hoops will be back next week. That'll be great. I don't know what we're doing next week. It's a surprise to us all. So hopefully we have a good one. But yeah. If you want to know what we're doing next week, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're on YouTube, leave a comment and a like as well if you enjoyed the episode. If you are on audio platforms, leave us a 5-star rating and review. That would be great. Check out our socials, like TikTok, Twitter. That'll be cool. But yeah, I guess I will end it here. That was a nice quick episode. I hope you all enjoyed. We'll see you all next week. Goodbye.